Hey everyone. So today I want to talk a little bit about fiber because with carbohydrates being such a hot topic in our world these days, I think it's really important to highlight what fiber is, why it's important. Fiber is going to be really a large component of more of our carbohydrate rich foods. Those are the foods that typically contain fiber. So if we're consuming a very low amount of carbohydrate intake, it can be really hard to meet our fiber needs. And fiber has so many health benefits. Specifically, fiber really helps with overall gut health. It helps with keeping bowel movements consistent. A lot of people don't realize that as a dietitian, a lot of times we talk about bowel movements, we talk about our GI health. And so really, really important that we're incorporating fiber-rich foods so that we can feed. So fiber is actually what we call a prebiotic. So you might have heard of probiotics, and sometimes people will even supplement with probiotics, especially if we're taking an antibiotic. So an antibiotic can be really important for our health and well-being if we need it, but the trouble with it is it not only wipes out the good gut or the bad gut bacteria and the bad bacteria in our body, it also clears us of all those amazing good bacteria within our body. And our gut microbiome is made up of so many different bacteria that are really helpful in absorbing nutrients and digesting nutrients. And so fiber is what we call a prebiotic, which basically means that it helps feed those good gut bacteria or those probiotics. And so really important that we're getting fiber consistently within our diet so that we're creating a powerful gut microbiome that's really helpful in overall digestion and absorption. It also helps slow down our digestion and absorption of nutrients, fiber intake, which is really helpful majority of the time. But as an athlete, we have to be really careful about where we're incorporating fiber-rich foods, especially if you experience a little bit of gut upset when you're out on the field or out on the court, out for a run. If you notice that it kind of feels like your stomach's a little upset, your food hasn't digested and absorbed yet, that's a really good indicator that maybe we need to look at what we're consuming before training or before competition and make sure that it's not too fiber rich, because it does slow down our digestion and absorption. And it makes it so those nutrients are not so readily available for fueling. So that's one area where we do want to be mindful about fiber intake. But outside of training, outside of competition, fiber is going to be really important for that gut health. It's going to be really important for blood sugar control. So it prevents us from kind of having a spike in blood sugar and a really significant drop in blood sugar. If we're having more simple carbohydrates, we can sometimes experience that. So with that, it's going to help with our mood stability. If we're having spikes and lows in blood sugar, that really impacts our overall mood and energy levels. So fiber can be really helpful in that. It's also important to note that there's a couple of different types of fiber. So there's insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. Insoluble means that it's not absorbed or dissolved within water. So basically it's just adding bulk to our stool. And so it actually helps speed up digestion and move our content through our bowels and allows us to have an easier bowel movement. And then soluble fiber actually dissolves in water, so it kind of slows down that digestion and absorption. And it's also really important for those good gut bacteria. So there's soluble and insoluble. Mostly when we're consuming different plant-based foods, whether it's fruits, veggies, whole grains, beans and legumes, nuts and seeds, they're going to be a good combination of both soluble and insoluble fiber. So that's really helpful to know. And how much fiber should I be getting? A lot of times I get that question. And in terms of recommendations for most adult women, anywhere from 21 to 25 grams is kind of the general recommendation in terms of fiber intake. If you're going above that, there's no harm in that as long as your body's absorbing well and you're feeling well overall. The catch is we want to make sure that we're not adding too much fiber in at once, because if we incorporate a lot of fiber-rich foods in a short period of time, our body and our gut's not going to be accustomed to that, and it can cause a lot of discomfort. It can cause increase in gasiness. It can cause some constipation and discomfort. So making sure that you're increasing fluid intake when you're adding in more fiber, and then slowly and steadily increase fiber. So if you are not hitting that 21 to 25 grams, and your woman, slowly increasing that is going to be really important, and not just jumping up to 20 grams or 25 grams. And for men, anywhere from 30 to 38 grams of fiber a day is kind of that generalized recommendation that we're aiming for. So take a peek and see, where's your fiber intake at currently. Look at packages. I always like to look, especially things like cereals and bread and tortillas. Look and see how much fiber is in those, because that's going to be a really, really good indicator of how your body's going to digest and absorb, and also how you're going to feel in terms of satiety, feeling satiated after that meal, because it's going to help slow down that digestion and absorption. And typically higher fiber means less refined. Not always. Usually when they're processing carbohydrates, they're removing the components of the grain that are actually providing that fiber within that product. But sometimes they'll actually add fiber back in. So it just kind of depends if you're looking at that label and seeing if they're adding fiber additives in. Maybe inulin, chicory root are common things that you might see in like Fiber One products and things like that. But you want to aim for more of those wholesome natural fiber sources that are already part of the food. So ways that you can increase fiber intake. So starting off with breakfast, choosing a whole grain cereal, adding fruit within, and making sure that you're adding the skins and the whole fruit. If we're thinking about applesauce versus an entire apple, the applesauce is stripped of that outer layer and that outer skin. It's not going to be nearly as fiber rich as eating an entire apple. Other ways that you can add fiber in along with breakfast, first meal of the day, is adding in avocado. One of my favorite breakfasts is avocado toast, egg and avocado toast. So slicing up some avocado, adding that on top, adding in some flax seeds or chia seeds or any sort of nut or seed on top of your Greek yogurt is a great way to add in some fiber as well. Eating more fruits and veggies just in general. Fruit and veggies are going to be a good source of overall fiber intake, some more than others, but getting a good variety of different fruits and veggies is helpful. Looking for whole grain products, so like a whole grain brown rice, looking for whole grain bread. Those are going to be more fiber rich. And like I said, flip that package over and look at the nutrition facts and just see how much fiber is within that bread, kind of compare and contrast to find a more fiber-rich bread. So adding in legumes, peas, beans, lentils, adding them in with soups, adding them in with salads, a great way to add in a good source of fiber. Beans and legumes are fabulous in terms of overall fiber intake. So other than that, things like popcorn, a great snack to add in fiber, adding in some fresh fruits and veggies along with your snacks as well. And just thinking about creative ways to kind of boost up that fiber intake. So hopefully that's helpful. I'd love to hear from you. Where's your fiber intake at? What are you doing to kind of increase or if needed, increase that fiber intake? What are some simple changes that you might implement based on the conversation today? All right. My name is Bethany Chapman. I'm with PNW Nutrition. I help athletes fuel for performance while also creating a nourishing relationship with food, body, and life. Let me know if you have any questions.